This episode of the Game Biz is brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial and to receive a free audiobook, all you got to do is go over to audible.com/GameBreaker. GameBreaker TV. This is the wrong open. It's all right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Game Biz, episode 12 for October 15, 2013. I'm Gary Gannon. You're watching GameBreaker TV. Joining me, as always, the one, the only Game Biz master himself, Mr. Monty Sharma. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Gary. How about you?
Excellent, excellent. Good to be back and answer some questions about the game industry. If you guys have questions for Monty, you can send them to monty@gamebreaker.tv. If it's the first time tuning in, we take questions from you, the audience, about how to break into the games industry or just anything to do with particular games, kind of, usually a Business Insider kind of take on things, and we answer them. So, all right, let's start out with this first question here. This one in from Marcus. Marcus says, got a little setup here. Says, I mostly like to come up with new things and ideas for pretty much anything. And since I love games and gaming in general, I use my skills at that. He says, I've made huge forum posts and PowerPoint presentations, which I too post on forums, to explain my ideas. He says, I've been teaching myself how to use some 3D modeling programs like Maya in hopes that I could show off what I mean. He says, I'm not a good drawer, and I only know the basics of 3D modeling, so getting the idea on paper is where I mostly shine. So, is there a place for a person like me in the game industry? He says, thanks, Gary Monty, for the awesome show. I learned quite a lot. Thank you so much for watching. So what do you suggest for Marcus? It sounds like he's an idea man, but maybe doesn't have the skills to really kind of communicate.
Yeah. So if he can draw, if you actually can draw well on paper, I'd actually focus on that over 3D modeling. Not everybody has to be a 3D modeler. Lots of people are doing, textures, or they're doing environment art or other things like that. That's worth doing. If your ideas and the things you're making forum posts about are good and you get good feedback from the devs, keep that up, because what you'll actually find is they do go through the forums and they pull people for the community team or QA or other things like that and say, hey, you really like the game, you've got good ideas, come on, we'll give you a place to start. And then from there you can, from the inside, you can work your way up into something more interesting. But I think you're doing the right things, and just keep at it. There is a place for you in the industry.
And that's my question. So what's the skill set for somebody who would be like an executive producer of the game? Because they're kind of that person, right? Like they're not a 3D modeler. They're not, they're kind of in charge of the teams and the direction of the game. Because I get from his question here that he's not probably a great artist either. So he's not looking to become an artist and do concept drawing.
So, an executive producer, they really have to have substantial business skills. So part of what they're doing is they're signing off on the milestones. And it was actually, I was saying to you, I was in Montreal last week, walking through WB Studio where they're doing Arkham Origins. And on the wall, you will see, their planning charts, and they're planning charts for each milestone to when they get paid. So the EP has set that up, and that means he's got a half dozen teams under him, each with producers or a producer across a couple, who's got to be organized and has to deliver. Flip side, it's got to go back to management and say, look, this is how much it's going to cost. We should delay. We should add more bodies. All of that stuff. It's got to work heavily with marketing. So at an EP level, you're looking for somebody who's really, I'm going to say vice president, senior vice president in corporation in terms of skill. If you've got ideas, that's all well and good, but everybody's got the ideas. Mm-hmm. Your ideas might be good, but you need a place where people get a sense of you. And that's why I say if you can get your foot in the door through QA or through community, joining the team that manages the forums, you got a shot there. And then if you've got the right ideas, game design roles of, figuring out how to adjust balance issues or new content, all of that, those evolve over time. And so you can do it from there. Just don't expect to jump into a major role right away.
All right, next from Arkish. She says, "Hi, Monty and Gary. It's Ark again. Hello, hello. Thanks so much for the questions." And this one's something we were just talking about in pre-show a little bit. Says, "It looks like the timing is setting up for me to go to GDC in March. That's the Game Developers Conference here in Los Angeles coming up." Says, "Assuming the wife and I are not jobless between now and then." Well, let's hope so. Says, "Looking at this, it got me thinking, of course, on what conferences I should be considering. These naturally lead to what are the conferences in the industry, what types are there, and all that kind of stuff. Thanks, as always, for making such great content, Arkish. Thanks so much for watching." So, yeah, GDC, for people getting in the industry, is definitely, and probably even more so than LA, I would say San Francisco is the one you have to go to. You have to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if I remember correctly, ARC was looking at building up programming skills. Mm-hmm. So, a core developer in ARC, take a look at Unity. You're going about it the hard way. The GDC, so there's, let me put it this way, there's a few different levels of shows. Okay, so you have things like DICE, which is a very expensive show that's, because it's very expensive, all you get are senior people in the industry. Mm-hmm. And that's a great place to do deals. They have you out in Red Rocks in Vegas, so you can't do, it's $50 to get to the Strip.
I was going to say, for the business people out there who are looking to mingle with that clientele, a little secret, don't get a ticket to DICE, just go get a hotel and hang out at the bar. Because everything pretty much happens in one place. So, because the tickets are like $2,000, I think, for DICE. It's something.
Yeah. $2,000 or $3,000 if you have some options in there. The bar's an awesome place to go. It's a way to start meeting people. But those things are targeted at sort of the business, high end of the business. The sort of next sort of layer down are the ones that target the marketing professionals and the publishers. So you're talking about E3, Gamescom, those sorts of things. Again, there's lots of good people there to meet, but the content and the focus there is more about, I need to do a publishing deal, I got to get this in front of so much media, and that's going to
be tough for ARC to probably make some good connections and make friends at a conference like that. Both of these,
yeah, absolutely, especially as a programmer, right? Mm-hmm. You go from there to your dev conferences, and things like that. GDC San Francisco is the best one to go to. It is full of people who actually make games. It was the most, useful show for us back when we were doing VVox. It's, the most interesting show because you will get, you get a bunch of senior management showing up, but what you really get are those, executive producer, devs.
People in the trenches.
The people who actually
really make games, and actually do it. Yeah, and that's what you're going for. You want to be around those people because a lot of the times they're also people who are in control of helping and have some persuasion on who they hire and things like that. Mm-hmm. So that's who you want to be around.
And on the hiring line, they actually have a job area. So they have all of these booths set up. All the major game companies, or most of the major game companies, are there, and they're there to interview people. And again, programmers are always hard to find. So build up some skills in Unity as well, because I don't know if I can say, one of the studios in Montreal was doing a really neat game cross-platform, and they were doing it all in Unity. So we're starting to actually see AAA titles being developed in Unity. So brush up on some of those skills and go in and say, hey, look, I'm a programmer, I've got a long history, want to get into the game industry, let's go. And here's some of the stuff I've done. So you should work on some things before you get there.
Yeah, and I think some of the other big ones out there you might want to stay, for now, maybe stay away. Like Gamescom, Germany, it's a huge one, but not really around, your scope. It's like a larger E3. Yeah. GDC is a great place to start. Right. I don't know of any others that are kind of that focused.
No, occasionally you might, not for programmers though. I mean,
No.
GDC is probably the
But
best
twice a
place.
year, if you're, I mean, that two conferences a year for somebody just getting in the industry is
Yeah,
quite a bit. You know, it's going to cost you
right.
a decent buck to fly out, stay, all that stuff. And there's two of them,
Hmm.
there's San Francisco and LA. So I definitely would suggest going to
Yeah.
both of those and starting there.
And although this year I would skip LA. So LA used to be in Austin, and it was a known quantity then. They moved it. Last year in Austin. It was like a wake. It was sad being there because everybody loved going to Austin. Don't know who's going to show up in LA. Don't know
I know
exactly what the focus is
a
going
lot
to
of
be.
people I've been talking to are passing it. So
Yeah, it's 90% of the reason. I shouldn't say this. Somebody who pays me might listen. Part of the reason people went to Austin was because it was Austin. It was it was a great town, and you met a lot of people hanging out. LA is not a friendly city for hanging out. So, that's going to be tougher. You'll see things like PAX, both in Seattle and Boston. That's a fan show. Again, not a great place to break in. The people you tend to meet in the booths there are going to be marketing types. They are not going to be, hiring managers.
Yep.
All the people who are producers or marketing, senior marketing folks there, they're doing interviews back to back. So target GDC, prepare for it, which means build a couple of things that show you have some skills. Look through some stuff, go to a game jam, start talking to people, go to GDC and say, hey, I can code and I want to work for you.
And it sounds like you're already planning to go to Los Angeles. So I definitely say go, but don't walk away from the LA version thinking that that's what GDC is all about. Make sure you make the next one in San Francisco. So I would say even if it means postponing your LA one, and if you can cancel it, I would almost suggest that, because the one in the San Francisco is just, everyone is there. Everyone. It is gigantic, and the seminars are great. The panels are great. Like it's really, really worth your time and effort to get to that one.
But if you do end up in LA, drop us a line, and if we get a chance, we'll have a beer.
Absolutely. We'll be there. All right. Next up from Aaron. Aaron's got a nice short and sweet one. He says, PCs have been giving me grief for 20 years. What are my alternatives to Windows? I think you have one. I have one answer, Mr. Monty Sharma, and I know what it's going to be.
No, I might have multiple. So yeah,
really,
there's consoles. Yeah, so consoles, Mac gaming. So OS X gaming has gone massively forward, man. It's
I
not,
own more Macs than PCs, and I can't get behind Mac gaming.
It's not where it was. 2-3 years ago, you couldn't find a Mac game to save your life.
That's true.
None of the major titles came out. Nothing. Now, you look on Steam. More and more titles are coming out. I played XCOM both on PC and Mac. I did the same thing with Witcher 2. And the beauty is I didn't have to futz with the sound drivers like I did on my PC to get the sound going.
That's true.
It just worked on my Mac. Now I hate the Mac mouse. You replace that with a standard 2-button mouse. But yeah, take a look at Mac gaming. It's not.
Biggest problem with the Mac though is their video cards, and you can't. The upgrading for video cards on a Mac, it's like $1,000 to buy a new video card for your Mac when on a PC that's like a $200 card. That's what's a killer. That is always crippled gaming on a Mac.
But that's the difference between working and not working, right?
Yes.
How much time on your PCs do you spend fixing? I mean, the first Mac I got was.
That's why I went to Mac, because I don't touch them anymore. They just work.
Yeah, exactly. I was trying to get music onto my iPod, and it wasn't working. And I'm fighting with this PC, and I'm saying, look, my home PC, all I do is I deal with music, I deal with video and family pictures. I'm not doing any serious computing here. Why am I fighting with this every time I want to do something? Switch to a Mac, no problem. So, all right, Mac's one thing.
What about on a PC though? What if you went back to so obviously I was thinking more along terms of, I thought you were going to bring up Linux.
Right.
How much gaming can you do on Linux now? I don't even know, but I mean, Steam is obviously pushing hardcore for it, right?
Linux is going to be lagging for a while. what Steam's doing is they're going to make it a lot nicer. And I've got to talk to somebody who knows better, but the sense I have is those Mac games that more and more people seem to be working on or porting to will also work on Linux, because OS X is actually a Unix-based variant. So that may actually be the path to greater Linux gaming. Now, I wouldn't use straight-up Linux if you're looking for less hassle in your life. I mean, God knows.
Would you wait for the Steam OS? Because they're actually making the whole Steam OS, which actually opens up a bigger thing like here. So obviously the Steam OS is going to be Linux, correct? A modified version of Linux for their own thing. Are they going to have enough games ported to Linux to actually make the Steam box work?
Well, I think it's going to be, it's going to be a case of, one, all of the Mac apps that they're pushing are going to work, right? I'm sure they'll find a way to make those work. The other thing is what Valve did with Steam. I mean, if you think way back, Steam came out with Half-Life 2, and you had to get Steam to get Half-Life 2. And it sucked. It was terrible. And they worked their tails off, and they made it fairly decent. And then it just got indispensable. So I think it'll be less of a painful cycle with SteamOS. I think Valve's matured as a company, they're a lot larger. But that's going to be a path to a less hassle. What they're talking about of taking it into your living room. Nobody wants to putz with things in their living room. So
the only other suggestion I can make, if you've got the extra cash, and this is again if you've got the cash, is if you have a PC and you've got Windows loaded up on it and you literally don't put anything on it but Steam and some games, you run into significantly less problems. So we do like live streaming and stuff here, and forever we used to use a single machine that did a lot of our other stuff, including some of the stuff we do for GameBreaker and the live stream stuff. And we put games on this and mix it with some of the other stuff. Nightmare. Every 2 months, we were wiping a hard drive, starting all over from scratch, like just problem. Got sick of it, went out, bought a dedicated box. It's a gaming machine. That's all it does, and we don't put anything else on it. It's been pretty much flawless. We haven't had a problem. Like, you update video drivers, you throw new games on it. It literally has not done anything. So if you've got the cash, that's a way you could kind of cut down on some headaches.
If you want a machine that you don't use for anything else.
Anything else, exactly. Literally, it's sitting under this desk. It's under this desk. It doesn't turn on unless we're gaming.
Which really is, you're saying a console, right? So all a console does is it plays those games and it's locked down. There might be a market for Windows boxes that are locked down, and better managed. Microsoft might actually wrap their head around that and realize that the no hassle part of the Mac side is kind of beating their massive number of choices on the Windows side. They're not getting the profit margins anywhere close to what Apple is, and that's something they've got to deal with.
All right, next up, this one in from Ryan. He says, how important are titles to platforms, and will the delay of Watch Dogs and the new Pokemon impact sales? It's all about the games.
It's all about the games.
It's all about the games.
So Watch Dogs will probably hurt Sony. So there's, if that was the motivator game for somebody to stand in line at 5 a.m. to get one or go out, camp out, that might be something they go, oh, all right, it's delayed. I'm just going to wait till Watch Dogs comes out, and then I'll go buy one, and they'll be in the store, and I don't have to hassle.
I mean, that did really seem like their biggest launch title that everyone's excited about.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in the boat with a lot of people out there. Even I pre-ordered the bundle, the Watch Dogs PS4 bundle. Now I don't even know what's happening. There's been no official statement of is my order canceled. I don't even know at this point. And again, I immediately thought to myself, wow, if Watch Dogs isn't out that day, should I order an Xbox? Like, I don't know.
Exactly. And, I think probably more of what you're going to see, and I saw this in multiple studios in the last couple of weeks, is you're going to see PS4 enhanced versions of existing games or games that are just coming out. So there'll be a version where they come out and the graphics are better and, it's slicker, it's nicer. That's great. The ones that really take advantage of stuff and really stress it, We might not see that many of them at launch, and bit by bit afterwards they'll come out. So I think it will have some impact, especially amongst hardcore gamers. I also know things like Pokemon and Animal Crossing. Those drive sales of DSs. Those sorts of games that people played years ago, loved, or so intensely involved with, that'll make somebody go out and buy one. I mean, you come out with a killer Mario or
big titles
Zelda game, people will go pick up a WiiU. These things make it possible. The hardware
Link sells WiiUs for sure.
Yeah, hardware is not the biggest problem. And as time goes on, hardware prices come down. You'll have multiple ones. We live in an age of excess.
Let me get your opinion on this really quick. Speaking of Watch Dogs, I'm just curious. So there's a rumor floating around, obviously just a rumor. But people kind of saw this. I don't know if you saw this or not, but interesting that Watch Dogs was delayed today to 2014. And that coincides with them releasing their 2013 financials and their numbers, and they're actually up and doing really well. So there's rumors floating around that they're pushing it back just to help make sure that 2014 is going to do okay. No, could you ever see somebody doing like that?
No, there's lots of ways to manipulate your financials. That's not even a moderately smart one to try. Holding back product hurts. You've got marketing that you've spent millions on, right? And it's all targeted at launching now. And you've got a whole bunch of work to do. You're going to lose a bunch of money not launching when you said you were going to launch. This is a serious hit that they're going to take. So no, they're not doing it for those reasons. It will not help them. 2014, they launch in the winter, spring. Slightly weaker time for titles. Who knows what else is in the market? You don't know what else you're going to be competing with then. You have no idea how the initial launch of the consoles goes. So you're spending more money, taking bigger risks, moving it out. And I hope they do well, but they're not trying to manipulate the numbers.
They could not be happy about this. I mean, this was going to be probably the biggest holiday season game coming out that is getting delayed. They are not happy about this. Everybody's been looking forward to it. All right, last up this week from ClickPow. ClickPow says, you seem to be big on Unity, but what about HTML5? It is cheaper and easier to use.
It sucks more too. All right, so I have spoken, 4 or 5 times at DevCon 5, which is the HTML5 developers conference. And at least 3 of those times we did a HTML5 Unity, and we used to do Flash. We stopped, and the last time, though, somebody brought Flash up again. And every now and then somebody mutters Java. Flash and Java are dead. Just get used to it. The things that you find with HTML5 is there's still different browser compatibility. So, the whole thing about you write in HTML5, it works everywhere? No, it doesn't. Games push the limits of what any technology does. So if you have browser incompatibility issues, and it's going to be another year or 2 before all that settles down, it's a pain in the neck to manage. Sound on HTML5, not there. The experience of using an HTML5 game when you're on a mobile device, so a tablet or a phone or something like that, is nowhere near the same as a native tablet version. It just isn't. And I know one big HTML5 developer in particular where great game, the PC works just fine. I used to try and play it on my iPad or my Nexus 7, and it was painful. You could do just the barest minimum of things. They actually looked at all their numbers and they said, forget it. We're going to spend 3 months. We're going to build a native version so that this thing actually performs the way it should on those devices. So, HTML5 might be awesome for websites and a whole lot of other uses. For gaming, you're doing it because you have some sort of point to prove rather than it's the best technology. I just don't see it.
Monty Sharma, follow him on the Twitter at Monster, MONTSTER 27. And of course, if you have questions for Monty, you can send them to Monty at GameBreaker.tv. That is the email address. Send in your questions, and we love video questions. So record yourself over on YouTube. Keep it to like, 60 seconds or so. Send us the link at Monty at GameBreaker.tv, and we will play it on the show. Where's our video questions? Come on, people, send in video questions. We love them. But yeah, if you have a question about the games industry, anything in general about gaming, please send it over to us, and we will answer it on the show. You can follow me on Twitter at Gary Gannon. Follow GameBreaker TV at GameBreaker TV. And coming over, we've got a whole smorgasbord of websites now at the GameBreaker Network. You got XIV Nation, Hearth Nation, EQ Nation for EverQuest Next, all kinds of stuff. We've got Hearthstone beta keys. That giveaway is going on right now. You've got, I don't know, about 2-3 days left, I think, on that. So get over to hearthnation.com and enter that. And we do the show live every Tuesday at 3 Pacific. So come on over for the live show as well. Have a great week. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week on the Game Biz.